This is the Bringing Business to Retail podcast, and today we are jumping in to look at what it's going to take to have retail success in 2020 and beyond.
Welcome to the Bringing Business to Retail podcast on SelenaKnight.com. Stay ahead of the competition by opening your doors to business experts so you can learn, grow, and be inspired. Passionate about bringing business strategies to independent retailers, please welcome your host, Selena Knight.
Hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. I'm your host, Selena Knight, and today we are going to talk about future-proofing your business in 2020 and beyond. Okay, so let me start by asking you a question. Have you ever been to a conference or an event and come back all fired up? Not because you learnt anything especially new, but hopefully you learnt something, but because it confirmed everything that you already believed to be true. I love going to conferences and seeing what's working and what's not in the e-commerce and marketing worlds. And I love sharing what I come out with you guys here on the podcast. And in the last couple of weeks, I've been to two conferences, the Online Retailer Conference, which, as the name suggests, was all about commerce and online retail. As the name suggests, they kept that one very short and sweet. And the second conference I just went to this week was a marketing conference called Grow ANZ, so Grow Australia and New Zealand. And it talked about what is trending in marketing in general, not just in Australia, but all around the world. And what I was really surprised at is even though the speakers and even the target audiences were very, very different, the people on the stage were talking about the exact same things. And that's what happens when you follow what is trending in an industry. So after the conference this week, I sat down and started to put together a list of my top takeaways from those events so that I could come back here and share them with you. And I'm going to jump into those in a moment, but I do have to say that I felt extremely validated hearing these, what I like to call the 4 Ps, that's what I wrapped it up into, hearing them because this is what I have been teaching in my courses and with my one-on-one coaching for the last 4 years. And these concepts now being touted as the future of retail. Now, of course, we do need to acknowledge that sales and marketing, as we know it, has completely changed. What worked 10 years ago, or even 10 months ago, might not necessarily work today, and it may not be working in 2020 and beyond. The e-commerce and retail landscape has morphed at a supersonic speed, and if you are not keeping up, then you are going to fall behind fast. 2019 brought technology that previously was only in the budget for chain stores and enterprise customers into the hands of independent retailers and e-commerce store owners. And looking forward to 2020 and beyond, it is going to take more than just having a bricks and mortar store or just having a functioning website to grab your share of a customer's disposable income. Now, earlier this year, I attended the NRF Big Show over in New York. You may remember I interviewed Jane Liu from Showpo and Jen Gill from Mountain Bikes Direct while I was at the conference for the NRF. And while I was there, I sat in on a panel of economists and I listened to what they were predicting for the future of retail. Now, every one of those people, and there were 5 economists on the panel, was convinced that we are heading for a severe tightening of the economy all around the world, not just in the US, not just here in Australia, but on a global scale. And the word recession was bandied about freely with timeframes from late 2019, which is kind of like now, right through to 2021. That was when they were predicting that we would see this economic downturn. But here's the thing, it does not take an economist to work this stuff out. Economies have a cycle, and at the moment, the world is perched on the edge of a downturn. Statistically, it will happen. which means more than ever, you need to be constantly innovating, surveying your customers, analyzing your product mix, and keeping on top of your cash flow. But what exactly are customers looking for? What is going to work in sales and marketing for you, the independent retailer or e-commerce store owner, in 2020? Well, like I said, I've rounded them all up and I've summed them up as the 4 Ps. Do you want to know what they are? Okay, let's jump in and I will reveal all. The first one, and it's one that seems to be getting talked about on every stage of every conference that I've been to, is purpose. Today's buyer wants more than just stuff. They don't want just another store. They want a brand. They want to hang out with a company that has the same values and ideals that they do. Today's customer wants to be associated with your brand because it gives them something like street cred or social proof. Saying that they shop with you is a badge of honor and it comes with status. Now, once upon a time, this was the domain of cult brands like Harley Davidson or sports brands like Nike. And customers had to pay big dollars if they wanted those luxury brands to get the cred, the street cred that was associated with it. But today and in the future, it is no longer about how much you spend on a product. It is about purpose. And the good part of that for you, the independent retailer, is that it doesn't have to cost anything. Defining a set of values, having a mission statement, and having a why behind what your brand does, and notice there that I said brand, not store, those things are intrinsic and they're not necessarily costly. Like I said, the scary part is I've been teaching this to my clients for the last 4 years, and now all of a sudden it's a trend. In 2020 and beyond, the retailers that flourish will be the ones that have a greater purpose than just selling stuff. Retailers who are thriving are the ones who exist for a purpose greater than just to sell more stuff to more people. Now, there are so many examples of retailers who are doing awesome things to build a social and environmental bottom line, as well as a financial one. I love the example of Patagonia, and they have a return or repair policy. And then they also have a whole website devoted to selling your second-hand Patagonia goods. Why is companies like the North Face use recycled products when they make their clothing? But today I want to give a little quick mini in-depth case study to a company that I just discovered called Nadam. Now, the company was founded by 2 guys, and it's been featured in places like Forbes and Entrepreneur and Fast Company, and they sell cashmere clothing. Now, on the surface, there's nothing different about that, right? There are loads of companies that sell cashmere clothing. But the mission of Nadam is to democratize cashmere by translating transparency into real sustainability, better prices, and better quality for our customers at every possible turn. So what does that mean? Because that sounds very corporate. Well, these guys basically got lost in Mongolia. Again, I will link you to the video. It goes for about 4 minutes. It is fantastic to watch. And what they found was they were picked up by some nomadic herders. And what they found in their process of hanging out with these nomadic herders for a month is that there's almost a cartel in the cashmere industry, and huge amounts of money go to the middlemen. So these guys decided to go back to America, raise a whole bunch of money, and cut out the middleman to deal direct with those nomadic herders and pay them, the nomadic herders, 50% more than the other companies. So from 2 guys who got lost in Mongolia to a mission to improve the livelihood of the nomadic herders who took them in, and on top of that, investing in breeding and vaccination programs for healthier goats and developing sustainable grazing practices, these guys built a brand. They built a following. They have a purpose behind their company. Oh, and did I mention that their signature product is a cashmere sweater that costs, now wait for it, just $75. Now, if you are in the cashmere realm, you'll know that that's pretty much unheard of. And they've done it all by giving back. They've done it because they've worked out a system to give back to the nomadic herders and keep the prices down for the customers. Now, maybe at this point you're thinking, but I just sell clothes, or Sal, I just sell homewares. Well, I'm also going to link in the show notes to an Aussie store called The Iconic, and they now offer, and many companies do this, what they like to call their considered range, where you can search for clothing that is manufactured to the highest social and environmental standards. You can start making steps in a new direction when you look at your business in detail. You can build a business that builds a tribe, not just a store that has customers. So this is leading me on to the second P. The second P of the future of retail and e-commerce success for 2020 and beyond, which is price. Now, we all know that there is going to be a market for FMCG. Now, that is the anagram, the first letter of each, whatever that one's called. It stands for fast moving consumer goods, aka fast fashion. Now, generally, this is the stuff of big box and chain stores, but piggybacking on purpose is a movement of customers who aren't price sensitive. I feel like that deserves a clap. There is slow fashion or ethically made products or buying to give back. The new era of customer, the ones that are here now and in the future, they are prepared to pay more to support their values, their beliefs, and the greater world good. Which means you, the retailer, needs to constantly be researching and asking your customers what's important to them. Maybe you trade 100% on cheap and cheerful, and if that works for you, great. But if that is not your jam, if you're looking for a way to differentiate yourself, stop trying to compete on price. And likewise, stop trying to give your customers discounts. Stop trying to force them to take the money out of your back pocket, especially if they really don't want them. Now, I hear you saying, "What, Sal? Who does not love a good discount?" Well, not everybody is like you and me. More and more, I'm hearing stories from independent retailers just like you and e-commerce brands and saying, "I'm sending out a discount code and nobody seems to be using them." Well, #reality check. Not everyone is motivated by discounting. In fact, the great customers are more than happy to pay full price. If you have a great customer experience and a brand that aligns with your customers, they really don't care about saving money. I know if you are price sensitive, and I know that I can be price sensitive too, that can be a really hard concept to grasp. But think about it. The person who shops at Louis Vuitton doesn't care if the Louis Vuitton bag is on sale. The people who do care, the ones who are a little bit price sensitive, they're the aspirational customers, the ones who want the status that is associated with owning the Louis Vuitton bag, but can't quite afford it. And yep, there is totally a time and place for those aspirational customers as well. But the customer royalty, the top 4% that bring in the vast chunk of your revenue, they don't give a damn. So if you are giving someone 10% off in exchange for an email address, think about it from the view of your potential customer. To me, when I see that, it just screams, our stuff is not good enough for you to pay full price for. So instead of rewarding what I like to call free pull, the people who love free stuff, maybe take that money that you're giving away in 10% off, those profits that you're giving away, and instead try rewarding your royalty, that customer royalty, that top 4%, with experiences and added value rather than discounts. With all this talk of people, let's move on to my third retail of the future concept. And it's something that I've been talking about for a while now, a lot this year, which is personalization. Now, this can mean two things in retail, so it can get a little bit confusing. The first type of personalization is sticking someone's name on something, like the equivalent of monogramming. And I noticed recently that Kiki K was doing this at Christmas time. So not so recently, but at Christmas time, they were offering free monogramming when you bought a diary as the perfect gift. So personalization, when you're putting people's name on something, that is totally a sales trend that you should be jumping on. But today, when I talk about personalization, I'm talking about personalizing the marketing, advertising, and shopping experience for your customer. Now, I mentioned earlier that the technology that allows us to do this as independent retailers has, for very long, been completely out of our budgets. But with SaaS companies popping up like flies, and SaaS is software as a service. So think about things like Vend point of sale or Xero bookkeeping. So these businesses that provide a service for us, which operate in the cloud, with those businesses popping up like flies, personalizing your customer journey can be done for less than $100 a month. Now, automation is vitally important if you're going to cover all your bases and be in every one of the places that your customer expects you to be in. Because it is, honestly, it's not humanly possible to deliver all of these touch points that customers are expecting without some kind of help from technology. But you do not have to sacrifice personalization in the process. If you want a customer to come back and shop with you, you can easily implement things like retargeting ads on Facebook or Instagram and Google, or Google Shopping, which allows you to serve your products up directly to a customer when they request it. Now, if I'm looking for a red V-neck cashmere sweater for less than $100, Google Shopping is only going to show me those things. I don't have to sift through 42 different websites, typing in the search bar, red cashmere sweater, less than $100. And even if I do, I may not get the price point that I want. Google is allowing you to personalize the customer shopping experience simply by having Google Shopping connected to your e-commerce platform. One of my favorites, you've heard me bang on about this one too, is Klaviyo email marketing. And what I love about Klaviyo is it allows you, one of the many things I love about Klaviyo, is that it allows you to send personalized email newsletters with content that is targeted on a customer's browsing and buying behavior, literally with the flick of a button. So the email that you get is different to the email that I get. But as the retailer, you only have to craft one email. In the background, the algorithms are working to see what you've clicked on, what you've browsed, what you've spent the longest pages on versus what I've looked at, what I've bought, and what people like us have bought. And then on top of all of that is customer journey segmentation. Now, I know this sounds a little bit scary, but really, it's nothing more than spending an afternoon mapping out what you want to offer, who you want to offer it to, and when you want to offer it. And then simply taking that information and putting it in place inside of your email marketing platform. So why aren't more independent retailers adopting this kind of technology? I mean, really, it's not expensive. And my answer, and please tell me if I'm wrong, I would love it if you could comment on this podcast and give me your thoughts. But what I think is quite simply, it's because they're spending way too much time doing stuff in their business rather than focusing on growing their business. And I've recorded quite a few episodes on this, doing stuff to stay busy, because if you're busy, you've got an excuse as to why you can't spend time on doing those other CEO type jobs in your business. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this today. But ask yourself, in all honesty, if you are being true to yourself in your heart of hearts, how much time do you spend mapping out what growth looks like for your retail or e-commerce business? Do you attend conferences or expos to learn about new software or marketing practices? Change starts within. And it is easy to add a new app or change to a different e-commerce platform if things aren't working. But the reality is, if you are stuck or disconnected or feeling alone or just plodding along, a couple of things will happen. One, you'll lose money because you're thinking small or you're thinking very limited, or you're going to end up burnt out because you're stuck on a hamster wheel of just doing all the things. Okay? So enough of Sal on her soapbox. Let's jump into the last P, which is perception. And when it comes to perception, in particular, I want to focus here on frictionless interaction or less friction interaction. I don't think it's possible to have frictionless interaction. So let's go with less friction interaction. Yet, even big stores are failing to provide this. And when I say less friction, I'm talking about all those sticking points, all those obstacles or hurdles that a customer goes through when they want to interact with you. So for example, it could be, I need to do a return. Instead of just having a return slip in my parcel or being able to go to the website and download a returns slip, I have to send an email. And then I have to wait for a reply. And then I have to provide more information. And then eventually I might get a return slip. And then I have to go to the post office and post it back. All of those are friction points. Like I said, even the big stores with all of their money, all their marketing budgets, all the customer service people that they have, they're failing to provide this. They're failing to do this part well, which means this is your opportunity as an independent retailer to excel. Now, I could do a whole episode on providing a less friction experience or a frictionless experience, but for today's episode, let's start with the end. Let's just focus on one little thing that you could do today to reduce those friction points. Starting with the end, which is checkout, the checkout process. Now, a whopping 69% of people who add to cart don't check out. And you can, all these stats I'm commenting about are from a company called Barilliance. You can always go and look them up, and I can pop the link in the show notes as well. So 69% of people who add to cart don't check out. And here are the reasons why. 55% don't check out because of extra costs like shipping or taxes because they were too high. 34% was that your website made me want to create an account. 26% said the checkout process was too long or too complicated. And 21% couldn't calculate the order costs without going through cart. Now, we are focusing on e-commerce here, and I'm going to talk about how you can implement this in-store as well, so stick with me. So what blows my mind, first of all, is that third stat. Right now, in 2019, 26% of people are abandoning checkout because it took too long or it was too complicated. And the reason this blows my mind is because with Apple Pay and Google Pay and Shopify Dynamic Checkout and even on-platform purchasing within Instagram, so in the new Instagram checkout, this stat of it taking too long or being too complicated, that shouldn't even make the top 50 reasons for people not wanting to finish their checkout process. Streamlining the checkout process is actually super easy, and no one should be losing 26% of their sales because of it. And likewise, 55% of customers abandoned checkout because of shipping and taxes was more than they expected. Shipping is such an easy issue to address. Heck, I don't even care if you put your shipping information on every single product page. It means that you're going to recoup just a fraction of that 55%. But if this is the biggest reason that people are abandoning cart, then have a look at your website and see if this is happening as well for you. It really doesn't take much to sit down and go through your own shopping cart process. Or, here's the thing, even through your own in-store checkout experience to see where those friction points are. And if you don't want to do it because you have those rose-colored glasses on, go and find a friend to do it and sit there and ask them to explain how they're feeling throughout the experience. Watch how they navigate your website, or get a friend to come and buy something from your store and give you some feedback, a little bit of mystery shopping. I was in a store recently and the poor girl behind the checkout didn't have a barcode scanner. So every single item that people bought, and it was an independent store, she had to search for each product. So the lady in front of me had like a blue t-shirt. So she was typing in blue t-shirt and that didn't work. So then she tried the brand and she had to sit there and faff about with every single product. And that meant that every customer was waiting several minutes just to be able to hand over their credit card or to give her cash. And let's be honest, for less than $40, that store could have bought a barcode scanner and sped up the entire checkout process. As a customer, honestly, I was at the verge of leaving because there were 2 more people in front of me, and I could see that this was not going to be a quick process. I mentioned right at the start that what's currently being touted as the future of retail really are business fundamentals. Now, sure, technology has played a huge part in making sure that you're able to grow, but the fundamentals, they've stayed exactly the same. Love your product, love your customer, tell everybody why you're doing this thing that you're doing. Whether you are just starting out or if you've been in business 15 years, you've put so much time and energy and money into this business that spending a little bit of time each week or even each month to evaluate what's working well and what isn't, and getting into the minds and hearts of your customer, it isn't a luxury, it is a necessity. But if you are in that place, and it's something that I see loads of independent retailers struggle with, and it doesn't matter if you're online or if you're in store, where you're so busy being, I don't know if this is an Australian term, but being head down, bum up, that there never seems to be enough hours or spare cash in the bank to invest in growing your knowledge. It is time to stop and take stock. It is so important to keep your brain in the game and your knowledge up to date. If you can't get to every conference that comes to town, or if you don't have the capacity to go hunting around the internet looking for all the information, maybe think about coming and joining our retail collective. One of the perks of being a member is me being on the ground, live from the conference room floor updates and bringing back the information that I'm finding firsthand. You get first access to what is working in my clients' businesses and in businesses all around the world. If you're looking for some help on how to achieve all the things, to step off that hamster wheel and focus on growing your retail or e-commerce business, check it out. Just head over to theretailcollective.net and see if it's the thing you didn't even know that you were missing out on. I truly believe as independent retailers, you have the upper hand. You're nimble, you can give great customer service, and you're not bogged down by corporate hierarchy or disparate systems that don't talk to each other. So do not throw this opportunity away. Don't let being independent equal being small or even thinking small. We love the convenience of online retail. We can't forget that humans still need humans. In-store sales still account for about 88 to 90% of overall retail revenue, which means we as humans still crave interaction. Every opportunity that you have to make a personal connection with your customers, I want you to take it and grab it. Send a handwritten note with your order, or wrapping it up so that it's clearly been done by a human. Taking the opportunity to meet your customers face-to-face at an expo or at a market. Running real-life VIP events for your online customers. Let people know that there is a face behind your business. Even if it's as simple as replying to an email as a real person, or picking up the phone and making a call. I know that you have the ability to make your business better, to grow it, and to build that connection with your customers. So what are you waiting for? I hope that this episode has really made you think about what you want from your business and where you want it to be in 3 months, 3 years, 30 years. Do you even want it in 30 years' time? If it does nothing else, I would love it to provoke some emotion in you. I would love it to inspire you to take some action. Even if that action is something as simple as heading over to iTunes or Stitcher or Spotify and leaving this podcast a review. Because the more reviews we get, more people can know about this great information. The more we can help independent retailers grow and make the world a better place. So if nothing else, I would love it if you could head over to iTunes or Stitcher or wherever you're listening to this and leave me a 5-star review, and let's support each other, the world a better place. I will see you next week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Bringing Business to Retail podcast. You can find all of the show notes over at selinaknight.com. If you found something that you heard today particularly useful, I'd love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes or Stitcher. And of course, feel free to share this episode with someone that you think could benefit by listening to it. Want more retail biz strategies? You can watch the Bringing Business to Retail TV show, where each week I'll answer a question or provide you with a simple, actionable retail biz strategy that you can implement in your business right away. If you have a question or a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Drop my team an email at podcast@selenaknight.com, and I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great week.